Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we turn to talking about the new AAA online survival video game, Fallout 76. This Bethesda Game Studios title came out about 2 weeks ago, and its whole release has been mired in controversy. Many longtime fans of the series are very disappointed about this new release, since it really veers off the track from its original entries. Fallout is typically a single-player, offline, adventure-type, RPG kind of game, but this new one is really a lot different. It may look and play very similar to the last game, Fallout 4, but it's actually very different fundamentally. As I said before, this is an online survival game, where the players must be connected to the internet to play. Once online in Fallout 76, you enter a world with around 20 or so other players, roaming around the map with you too. But instead of instantly attacking and killing each other, like how the normal online survival games do, well, Fallout 76 is more about encouraging cooperation. You can help out your fellow players and even join teams with them or your friends. There's microphone support too, so you guys can communicate and take on the wasteland together. At least that's the idea of how the game is supposed to work. But regardless of that setup, players are still free to play solo, or they can try and attack players if they want, with varying results.
What the hell's going on here? Is this supposed to be floating in the air like this? Can I shoot this thing? Is that safe? Seems safe. Just gotta shoot the valve off of it. It actually worked!
And now with that premise out of the way, let's get to the controversy surrounding this game. First, there was the really bad sales numbers, which are pretty stunning. Fallout 76 sales are down over 80% from Bethesda's last entry in the series, Fallout 4, which I mentioned. Now, some of a drop was to be expected here, but down 80% is a real kick in the teeth for Bethesda. Let's read a bit of this article from VG247 for more details. 5 new entries in the top 10 have mixed up the charts this week. Fallout 76 launched last week, and while it was inevitable that an online multiplayer title wasn't going to have as much attention lavished on it as a brand new single-player game from Bethesda, there's a huge difference in sales when compared to 2015's Fallout 4, with the latter outselling Fallout 76 by 82.4%. GamesIndustry.biz reports that, despite making its UK charts debut at number 3, in terms of revenue, the title made the most at retail. Meanwhile, Spyro Reignited Trilogy, which entered the UK charts at number 1, was number 3 in terms of revenue, thanks to its comparatively lower price. 75% of its sales were on PS4. Nintendo's Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee also launched last week, jostling into the charts at number 4 and 6, respectively. Although if the sales of both games were totted up together, they would have held the top spot. So when I read that and reflect on it, I see there's a lot of stiff competition this month in video gaming. November is always a busy time for video game releases, since companies want their products out and about for the holiday season. Regardless, Fallout 76 drop is still bad, and not a good look for the company. Bethesda could have gotten a number 1 spot if they played their cards right here, but also, let's not underplay where they did place. The game is still 3rd on the list here, but, well, I would say this is the beginning of things going downhill for this game, and the studio as well. First, the sales reports were pretty troubling here, and next, the fans and other gamers start review bombing the game online. Now, my opinion on the term review bombing is a little different here. Previously in another video, we talked about another game that was supposedly review bombed, Battlefield 5, when really, it was just a shit game with forced diversity and feminist cyborgs, which no one wanted, so they reviewed it accordingly. In that case, it was the developers and hardcore fans claiming the title got review bombed in order to discredit the bad reviews. Fallout 76's situation is a little different though. This game doesn't have any forced diversity or SJW bullshit for starters, thank God, and their developers aren't lashing out and blaming the fans at all either, not like how Battlefield 5's people did. Bethesda is at least smarter than that, but they did release a buggy game that looks like it may have been half finished. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the game does look bad at times, but I'm also a big fan of the series too, and I've actually had quite a bit of fun playing 76 as well, even though it's not perfect either. With that said, I would say Fallout 76 deserves a lot of the bad reviews it's getting, but at the same time, I don't think it's the worst game in the world either, and I certainly don't think it deserves this low of scores on Metacritic. As you can see here, it's got a score of 55 out of 100 with critics, and it has a whopping 2.9 out of 10 from the gamers. This all seems a bit too low to me, especially that user score. I could see this maybe being a 5 out of 10, but a 3 is a bit much. I really think people are just over-exaggerating, and they're just going by the word of mouth on this thing, which is admittedly bad for Fallout 76. Regardless, I would say there's some sort of hate bandwagon going on here that has caused these scores to go down so low, and that's why I would say that it's probably been review bombed. This especially looks to be the case when you click around and look a little further into things. A lot of the user reviewers here gave this game a straight up 0 out of 10, and they also never had reviewed anything else on the site before this. I've got 3 examples right hear of users like this from Metacritic, and this is only after a very brief investigation. Looks fishy. I mean, who's to say these reviewers even played this game anyway? Like I said before, when there's a big controversial negative release like this, people like to bandwagon and say the game is shitty too, with their friends or just to sound cool. And without any verification process here, we don't know if sites like this are really representing what actual players of the game feel and what they think of it. That's why I also like to check places like Amazon, who verify their reviewers have purchased a product before they can rate things. And that's why I think Fallout 76 has a much better score on Amazon, because the ratings are coming from people who actually played the game. Sure, the scores aren't great here either. The game's getting a 2.5 or 3 stars out of 5, but that's certainly a lot better than the ridiculously low 3 out of 10 on Metacritic. So as far as I'm concerned, review bombing has been confirmed. Next, in reaction to the poor reception and sales, Bethesda did another controversial move. They lowered the price of Fallout 76 for Black Friday. That's right, only a week after release, and the game is now down from $60 to $40. And I've even seen reports like this one from PC Gamer saying the game dropped the price again to $35. So, needless to say, this sparked a whole other controversy. Now the gamers who paid full price 2 weeks ago, including myself, we are seeing others get the game for $20 or $25 less. Not cool, but I am still fine with it. I've come to peace with it. I've already played the game a ton and made it worth the $60 myself. Anything going forward is just gravy. And with a game like this, it being online and constantly updated, well, I'm sure I'll get to play it a lot more in the next year, or in 2 or 3 years in the future. Regardless, I could still see why other customers would be pissed as well.
Wasn't me, bro. Oh, hell yeah. Wait, what does that say? Uh-oh. Oh. Okay, run away!
Next, let's take a look at more of this price drop article and see what else is up. Some were surprised when Bethesda dropped the price of Fallout 76 to $40 for Black Friday, since the game was only released last week. If that wasn't enough of a discount for you, the price has dropped yet again. You can buy the game right now from Amazon for just $35. It's definitely unusual to see a $25 price drop so soon after a massive game is released, but the recent underwhelming reviews from critics and gamers may have something to do with that. In our review, Chris said he still had long stretches of fun with Fallout 76, and noted that it still includes many beloved elements from previous Bethesda RPGs. Even though many of the current in-game bugs are frustrating, $35 is a much better price than $60, and the experience will hopefully continue to improve as Bethesda fixes problems and adds more content. Maybe buy a copy for a friend and experience the bugs, both the mutated and troubling video game kind, together. Now that's a pretty level-headed take on things. I agree with them. The game has its problems, but it also has long runs of fun sections in it too. And now that you can get it so much cheaper, it's really hard to take complainers seriously. What do you expect for $60 or even at $40 or $35? $35 really isn't that much now either. As long as you play the game for 3 or 4 days, it's well worth the money. And like I said before, buying the game now will give you access to the game for years to come too. So I really don't get all the big complainers out there. In my opinion, the game is like an online spin-off version of Fallout 4. If you like that game and want to try a different online type version, then you'll definitely like this new one. Fallout 76 may not hook you in as hard, and the stories and missions in it are certainly not as thematic or large scale as the original, but that's not all bad either. I know some people will skip through a game's cutscenes anyway. I do sometimes. And this game just cuts them out for you. It's stripped down to the core gaming mechanics. And sure, it's a little buggy, and yes, the engine is looking old these days, but this is also exactly what Bethesda advertised the game as. They said it would be Fallout 4 online with no NPCs and less traditional story missions. So, as far as I'm concerned, Bethesda delivered exactly what they promised, albeit a little lackluster and underwhelming at first. But there are other things here that are greatly overwhelming, like the large and diverse map, for example, or the plentiful amounts of junk, events, and side quests, to name a few. In the end, I don't want to finish sounding like I'm defending Fallout 76 too much. Sure, I like the game okay, but I can also see why many others hate it. But this video is not really here to debate the game's worth specifically. We're more trying to talk about all the controversies, like the troubling release, the review bombing, and the price drop that has also triggered fans. These sides of the story hold true no matter what faction you stand in. So, with that said, my point for today is that it really seems like Fallout 76 is just for hardcore gamers now, at least for now. It's only here if you want to give something new a chance as well. Really, this game was made for multiplayer. Don't forget about that. So while playing solo is doable and you could play by yourself forever, really, you're meant to join groups, build teams and bases together, and to tackle the wasteland as a team. I fear a lot of players and reviewers are forgetting about this aspect at times too. You need to do multiplayer to get the full experience, plain and simple. And if you don't like that, that's cool too, but just don't buy the game. Don't go and buy the game and expect expect something totally different and then complain about it when you don't get that. That, my friend, is some total bullshit. And I really hope Bethesda follows up here and does some good updates and makes some add-ons and fixes things up in this game eventually. Fallout 76 has a lot of potential, and I'd love to see it reach that, but until things are fixed and updated, it kinda deserves the hate it's getting. What do you guys think? Was Fallout 76's controversial release justified? Did you already buy the game, or are you gonna get it now that it's on sale? And should hardcore fans be pissed that the price dropped on them so quickly? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. We'll see you all next time.